from getting sick by constantly cleaning your hands with alcohol-based sanitizer or with soap and water. Wash hands after coughing or sneezing, before, during, and after food preparation, before eating, after using the toilet, caring for the sick, when hands are visibly dirty, and after handling animals or animal waste. A COVID-19 prevention tip from the World Health Organization and the Jamaica Information Service.
Phoenix Health and Vision Center now has 2 locations. St. Anne's Bay, 65 Main Street beside the Health Center. And now Shop 30 Champion Plaza, Falma, Trelawney. You heard me right. Shop 30 Champion Plaza, Falma, Trelawney. The only full-service eye care center for all your designer frames and designer glasses. Plus, complete eye care. Book all your appointments now in St. Anne's Bay. Call 876-972-2388. 876-589-8327. For Falmouth and its environs, call this number 876-533-0540. Looking forward to seeing you at both locations. Phoenix Health and Vision Center. Now at Champion Plaza, Falmouth, Trelawney.
Does your child need assistance with reading? Are you an adult who wants to become a better reader? Well, get ready to learn with Teachers Touch Tutoring. Our tutors are certified reading and writing specialists. Call us at 876-517-2332. That's 876-517-2332. Classes available weekdays and on weekends. Teachers Touch Tutoring. Learning today, leading tomorrow.
This up, we mean this. Yeah, so you come get your tablet. And all when you left and you have to come back on me. Know you want to buy one of them your laptop. Best of business, a serious business. We sell all electrical appliances and all of your car accessories. Come a bed stop, you know no problem.
Best Apps Technology. Shop 25 Champion Plaza, Falmouth, Trelawney. Telephone 876-394-5484. Best Apps. We only deliver the best.
So here I am, the controversial Ed Wallace. I'm on Community Buzz every Monday afternoon from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. on Fit FM 96.7. Call me. Our number is 876-482-4944. Let us discuss topics affecting your community: education, health, community development, infrastructure, and anything else. Remember, Community Buzz, Mondays 3 to 6 on Fit FM 96.7. Your life, your music.
Under the pressures of a life and it tough. Now stay down, mama, time pick it up.
Welcome and good afternoon to Community Buzz here on Fit FM 96.7. Your life, your music. You're here with the usual Ed Wallace. Only me one, and Julia with me because she's my coach in the meantime, as you all know. So we're here together for you this Monday afternoon. A very pleasant looking Monday afternoon. But as you see, my countenance kind of slow. But I guess by the time Julia done with me, I'll be... See it start laugh already. But you're here on the big one, Fit FM 96.7. Your life, your music. Now you know that we're on Facebook too, so you can link us up on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and all the other major social media platforms, so you can find us. And to call us, I'd love for you to call us. By the way, I have a question for you, whether to call or text. The numbers are 876-482-4944. So that one, we are going to reserve that for texting for the time being, because our callers will call in on that number. And then the other number, 876-317-1991, that we can take any amount of call, any amount of text. And the two numbers, use regular text too. So that's talk to us. Here's my question before I go any further, because this is Easter now. This is the holy season and we're winding down into Good Friday. So here's the question. I don't know if I can hit up my producer for a prize for this one, a bun and cheese or something like that. But the question is, what was the last miracle that Jesus did before being crucified? What was the last miracle that Jesus performed before being crucified? Right? I say again, text or call 876-482-4944, 876-317-1991. But here what now? Text the answer. Text the answer, please. My producer is hollering. Text. So text the answer. All right? The last miracle before crucifixion. I want to welcome everybody online, everybody on Facebook, everybody on radio. Just want to welcome you and thank you for tuning in, for giving you my ears. I want to greet Miss newly minted, Miss Rachel Webb, newly minted JP, Justice of the Peace for Trelawney. And we shall have her on at about 3:30 to discuss some issues relating to roles and function of the JPs and a little bit into conflict resolution. You know, I was in about 2 weeks ago, I was on that topic of conflict resolution. Conflict mitigation I was doing. So Rachel is going to help us out with conflict resolution this afternoon, as well as to tell us the roles, functions of the JP. I want to heal up Ralston, my neighbor across the free there. Farmer Ralston, believe you me, I was leaving studio last week and then just rushing in a little patch, and lo and behold, I had one small pumpkin dry and pretty like our, and a whole bag of beans. Since I'm not to tell nobody, oh my God, tell the people that. I shouldn't tell them that. Anyhow, so big up Ralston. I was going to save this for last. I want to big up all flanker people who gave us a good story, because this week was filled with news items, most of them bad news, but flanker kind of just stand up in this week, which is good. What happens is that flanker is a place that a lot of us would want to brand in a negative way. But it so happened that apparently a few days ago, there was a fire in flanker and a pregnant mother was trapped in the building. Flanker people go fear. So mother and child, safe and sound as we speak. So I want to just big up flanker people, them, and ask that they continue the good work, and just Jamaica need it. Jamaica need more of this, more good news like this. Our communities, Montego Bay, Salt Spring, and all of them places. We need more of this, So just keep on keeping on in this light. As you know, want to rush towards birthdays. And we're celebrating a couple of birthdays now. Appropriately, Julia's birthday should be celebrated this Monday, but she beat it out of me. Last Monday before her time. But we just want to wish her that she had a very pleasant day, a wonderful day, because her birthday is mixed with a whole heap of things, So we hope that she enjoyed her birthday, and that as she enter into her new year, that God will continue to bless her. You would know the kind of work that Julia is doing, You would know the kind of work. So I want to also wish my grandson, Mr. Son, you hear that one, Julia? My grandson, Carson is Orphea Wallace's son. Orphea Wallace is my daughter. And I just want to wish Carson. We spoke yesterday, and I love the boy. I really do love the boy. Carson is a good kid. Good kid. Good kid. And then now my cousin Shannon Wallace there in Martha Brae. Want to wish her a happy birthday. Hope she enjoyed her day. And then there's a lady that I call Eve, Susan Jones in New York or somewhere there in the States. Very good friend. Troublesome though. Troublesome like a whoa. Want to wish her a happy birthday. For all these people, I want to wish you and Fit FM 96.7 your life, your music. Want to wish you all God's richest blessings as you embark on this very new year of life, and that you will live to prosper and prosper and prosper in health, strength, and even in wealth. All right, so that's coming from Fit FM. Anniversary, we're still celebrating Fit FM anniversary, and we're going through. My producer was just telling me just now that we were committed to a month, but the delayed reaction caused by COVID, we're doing it all year this year. So we're running it all year. So I want you to just listen out for all the notifications and celebrate with us, because we're trying to do the best job for our community as well as Jamaica as a whole. And we would do with your patronage, we would do with your encouragement, we would do with everything nice that you can put our way. Losses, people losing people. Want to send out a Fit FM condolences to former Member of Parliament Victor Wright, whose father and sister have recently passed. And that can be anything that you can stand up to if you're not strong. So you remember that song, Lean on Me? Yeah. We have to just lend Victor and his family our shoulders while we ask the comforter to come in and to just dwell with the family for as long as it takes for them to recover from their loss. And Victor, we wish your family all the best, Mr. MP, as you go through your little journey here right now. Fact of the matter is that we're not here forever. Paul says that we shall not all sleep, but most of us are going to go this road. So Mr. Wright lived a nice, decent, long life, and he was a contributor to his community in more ways than one, 4-H and principal for school and all that kind of a thing. So it's really a loss, but hopefully Victor and the rest of members of his family will just stand up and continue to contribute in a way that would have made him proud. So his memory will stand out. The memory of him will stand out. Lest we forget Andrea Garwood, we still do Andrea Garwood. I commit to doing it for a year. And Andrea Garwood, if you don't know, Mrs. Garwood is a lady that was gunned down in church in Agape Christian Fellowship Church. Lest we forget this heinous act. We just want to make sure that we know that we must keep praying, keep looking to God and all of that kind of thing for strength, encouragement, and to deal with some of these issues. Because only recently we found that a woman was found on the beach in Portmore, killed. I say all the dignitaries, if I should use that term, reaching out in the media to say this was a heinous act and killer must be brought to justice. But this is a repeat, the same thing over and over again. Something must be done. And I tell you, the way we speak to each other, I'm going to say it again, the way we handle each other, if we don't do better, it's not going to help. All right? So we want to reach out to all families suffering loss right now in the heinous manner that the murders are being committed, as well as those persons who actually passed by natural causes and in a natural fashion. We wish God's comforter will come to you and will sit with you, tarry with you for a while as you try to recover from your loss. Just to repeat, Victor's loss Victor Wright's loss is a really big one, a double whammy in terms of his sister at one point, and then following the burial of his sister, even before his sister was buried, the loss of his father, and it must be very, very painful. I tried to start a trend, but I forgot it last week, and I just want to go back on it and wish everybody in the hospital right now, everybody in their sick bed right now, speedy recovery, God's richest blessings, and particularly God's mercy. I want to mention the Honorable Bruce Golding, who is perhaps recovering now from a recurring kind of a decimal in terms of his illness, according to his family. And as well, Michael Sharp, a most beloved journalist, newscaster, anchor, and all of that. Very, very, very sad. And sometimes we'll have, I don't know, sometimes we'll have these things happen. But the thing with Michael is that it has been said that this is a reaction. And so all of that we're going to have to deal with in the course of time, because as the statistics go, the reaction to the vaccine is very, very small in terms of the numbers of people who get the vaccine and who react badly to it. It's very small. But what we do know, and what I do try to emphasize as a safety person too, is that when it's one of your family, that percentage goes up significantly. Because if it's a nuclear family, 1 of 4, that's 25%. So we must always put things in context. For the family, it's bad, but on the global scale, it's a very small percentage. So while we're contemplating whether or not we're going to take the vaccine, let us bear some of these issues in mind, because the truth of the matter is we're still in the we don't know yet phase. Yeah. So even when my time comes around, God forbid, I don't even want this. I'd love COVID to go before we get to that stage. But I'm still intending myself to take the vaccine if and when my time comes around, and so I still encourage people to consider it. So that is that. Remember now my question. What was the last miracle done by Christ just before his crucifixion? All right. And my producer promised me abundant cheese for this one. So text the answer in 482-4944. Remember, you buttress that with 876. And then there's 876-317-1991.
Make sure they say they're answering the question.
Yeah, man. Make sure you say you're answering the question here, please. Make sure you say you're answering the question. All right. And that question is not so hard. And there's a reason why I asked the question too, but because I'm coming back to it as we wind down a little bit later on. There's a specific reason for it. So I'm gonna just are we ready, Madam Producer? Okay. All right. So minutes of the last encounter. Before the minutes, we're gonna chip out for a short time. We're going to Dr. Rowley? Not yet. Here? Not yet. All right. So minutes of the meeting. Let's quickly go to roads. We're still on roads. Good job on roads. Still going on. But Stuart Castle and Refuge, we're still looking when our time will come. I see Samuel Prospect is going to be enjoying the blessings of better roads in short order. I noticed that. But a little bit of observation. I'm not sure why. We would love if we could get an explanation, because I went up to Green Park over the weekend, and traveling between Granville and Green Park, I see patches of the road that were fixed, some very terrible part of roads that were fixed. But then all the road is not fixed, and I kind of wonder why and whether or not there's an explanation for that. So excuse me, good enough that the road patching took place and the road is far better now. Far, far better, far better. But the question is there, we always want more now, that is how we are. Is there a rationale behind just patching some spots and leaving some other spots there? Um, Rockbridge, we're never going to leave Rockbridge. We still have Rockbridge on our agenda just to get some information there for Rockbridge and the people of not just Rock, but all the people who would have used that road, whether or not for bypass, if the main road is blocked, anything like that, you know. So we need some argument. And then the commerce in Rock is really suffering from that blocking of or what should I say, taking out of commission of the bridge. And so we would love some explanation. You see, I keep saying, you know, and I'm going to say it again and again, that sometimes all the authorities need to do is to communicate. Just communicate, even if it's not being fixed. One of my favorite politicians in terms of how he operated was Dr. Robinson. Dr. Robinson was MP for a constituency in Portmore. And I tell you this, I told you this story before, and I'm going to tell you again. If he was about to do nothing in the constituency, Paul Robertson, that is, all right? If he was about to do nothing in the constituency, he would consult and he would talk, and you wouldn't hear a pin drop when nothing not done. And I guess that's one of the reasons why I got away, especially in Portmore, with the idea of it's in the pipeline. I don't know if you all remember. Yeah, man, it's in the pipeline. It's in the pipeline. But communication is key. Communication is key. And I'm suggesting that those in authority, take a page out of that book in terms of communicating, not in terms of pipeline, but in terms of communicating. All right. COVID-19 continues to wreak havoc and to be in the headlines, and we dealt with that last week. We're going to do more of it this week. And murders continue, as I said. Murders continue. Murders continue. And I wonder when it will abate. This is just terrible. One other thing with some of the murders, as I said before, every human life is of value, every single one. And so when the press and the authorities, when we single out any individual, even Mrs. Garwood, we must remember that people, ordinary Jamaican citizens, are dying every day by virtue of murder. And we need to put urgency to it, not because a most popular person passed under those circumstances, but because it's just not right. It is just not right. And we need to put a stop to it. All right, so as I say, murders continue. In the news, as I say again, more murders, but robberies are increasing. And the kind of robberies are the kind of robberies now that are showing more desperation than anything else. And I don't know what we're going to do about it in this COVID era, but the robberies are increasing, house breaking, shop breaking, all kind of break-ins, supermarket or business place broken into, robbed, women tied up and lined up like cattle and all that kind of thing in Manchester the other day. It's just worrisome because you now have to sit and wonder, when will it come close enough to you? You know, as I said, we need to find a collective way to help deal with this. And I'm just putting it out there again that the neighborhood watches and they're looking out for each other is a very good thing to help to combat crime from the front end. It's not good enough that crime take place and the solution is at the back end. You're going to go investigate and you find who did it. And after all is said and done, the loss is still there. COVID-19 lockdown this weekend gone. I wonder if some people would text us and tell us their view on the COVID lockdown this weekend, gone. A couple of weeks ago, if not last week, I spoke about the possible impact that it would have on the church. And again, I say, notwithstanding the fact that these decisions are meant to protect Jamaicans, I think we need better dialogue between the authorities and all the stakeholders publicly so that we know that we're all agreed. Because coming out of this, it was like bro God locked down the church, them and him ungodly. And one pastor came out and said, I said pastor, I shouldn't say that. One pastor, because that is what I'm calling him, pastor, came out. And you know why I call him pastor too? If you don't know, I'm going to tell you. Pastor full of cow, and cow normally do a particular piece of work in the pasture. That's why the pasture is usually full of it. So this pasture is trying to profit, profit, profit from the what should I say? Yes. All right, but I can't say. I'll say more about it, but I can't say any more about the man himself because this one is bad. I can't say how that became relevant, but again, the prime minister must be killed. I can't say how any church person could come up with. No, the fact of the matter, the video with him saying that he must be killed disappeared. Because I saw it with my own eyes. I tried to go back to it and couldn't get back to it after a day. All right? The one that is reverberating now is the one that says that he must go down. He must die. This pastor is speaking, death is in my mouth. Death is in... I can't figure it. So we're going to talk about it a little bit later. Some popular people are stepping out again and having their say with respect to COVID. I see, what's his name? This DJ came out, and a couple of DJs came out. Ricky Trooper was one of them. Another one who came out saying that he will be taking his vaccine, do a little jingle in relation to that. So artists are coming out and people are making their point of view known. But again, it says to me, when you see some people kicking against the COVID measures and kicking against the vaccine, I go back to saying, Mr. Tufton, put the $422 million back on the table and do it loud and do it proud because we're going to need it. We're going to need it. With even the incidence of reaction to the COVID vaccine and people becoming a little bit more afraid of taking the vaccine now, you're going to have to spend that money, if not more, to promote it. All right? And when prominent people, it's so funny though, that in the case of the media personality, it's a reaction. But then in the case of the condolences to Indicom people too, for the loss of one of their chief over there, but he seemed to have passed by virtue of COVID. I could say a cousin of mine passed from COVID too in Kingston the other day. Vernon and Sidney and everybody in the family there at Green Park, condolences to you and your family for the loss of your brother. And I hope again that God will help you recover from this loss. But again, Jamaica, it seems as if we're in a kind of catch-22 situation. All right? We're afraid to take the vaccine because we're afraid of reaction. As I say, this reaction didn't come with most of the people who took it. I even understand that the Prime Minister himself had a fever after the vaccine. But that is not strange because when we were taking polio vaccine and all those vaccines, the usual thing after the vaccine is a fever. So I don't see why we're going all of that. By the way, there's another rumor about the HPM Prime Minister not taking the vaccine. It's a lie and all of that kind of thing. And I said, damn if you do, damn if you don't. When he had not yet taken it, it was a complaint that he didn't take it. Now that him go publicly and take it, they're still not believing that it was taken at all. And so I say politics is going to be the death of this nation. I would love to see us being referred to as the Jamaican civilization way down the line. But if we're not careful, we're not even going to get to keep our name as a culture. Politics is going to be the death of us if we're not careful. Yeah, we're going to take a break and we're going to come back with newly minted JP, Miss Rachel Webb, to talk to us a little bit about. And then we're going to also go to Trinidad, because you think are we alone in the COVID thing? Yeah? Think again. We have a neighbor there, Trinidad, who is going through similar stress. And so we take a break. We'll come back to that right after this.
You got to be good. You better be good now. You got to be good. You gotta be good to your brother, man. And you got to love your sister too. Na 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 na. You better be good to everyone. And Jah will shine His light on you. I know He'll shine His light on you. As I travel in life lonely road, I see many fall along the way. But the race is not for the swift, nor the battle for the strong. But time and chances face us all. Why, time and chances face us all. We're not giving up. We can't give it up. We never give it up. We can't give it up. Sitting on the outside looking in. Life seems so gloomy all the way. So I've got to be strong. I've got to hold on. For tribulation we face that day by day. Why I pray to Jah so I won't go astray.
Yeah, man, I'm Mara. I tell you, I'm my favorite artist now. You know. If I don't play a piece of Imara on this program, the program nah keep. Yeah, man, very relevant music, very, very up to date, and just hey, a big up and thanks to your Imara for the message music. Big up and thanks, because one would have one thinks a reggae music dead, message music dead, but certainly you're saying contrary. Yeah, man. All right, we're on, I hope now, with Miss Rachel Webb. Rachel Webb, are you there with me?
I am. Hello, Ed. How are you?
That sounds good, Miss Webb. That sounds good. Thank you. I am well. How about you? How are you doing?
I am not too bad. Keeping safe under the circumstances, as I hope everybody else is, but just trying to get through the challenging times that we are all undergoing as best as possible.
Okay. That sounds like you just answered the question personally. Now, how is the JP doing?
The JP and the JPs are doing wonderfully. We are, whilst obviously we are limited somewhat as to the activities we can do, we are still very much operational, working out in our communities, doing our judicial functions with petty sessions and such. So life goes on, albeit in a revised fashion.
Okay. All right. So, ladies and gentlemen of Fit FM 96.7, you're listening to Miss Rachel Webb, newly minted JP for the parish of Trelawney. And we're going to be talking about, as we kicked off, I mean, since we start there already, Rachel, we're going to talk about now the role and function of the JP in the community, the JP role and function. Could you just give us an outline, Rachel, of what are some of the functions of the justice of the peace or the justices of the peace?
Well, a justice of the peace is somebody who is an upstanding member of their community, who is able to function as a mediator, as somebody who can affirm documents, sign documents, certify documents and such. We also take part in the petty session courts. And most people will know, for example, if you are going to open a bank account, they will ask for a JP to sign a form for you, a recommendation, something that will certify your character as such.
In terms of the relevance of this long-time institution, could you speak to how important it is to have a JP in a community?
JPs are particularly important now. We have been given more roles, more duties with the expansion and the what I would say is a revision of some of the roles of the Ministry of Justice.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, JPs are being called upon now to attend to issues of child diversion, to attend to mediation and restorative justice.
Mm-hmm.
So whereas persons would have seen JPs in their community solely to, you know, go and sign a document and such, we are much more now taking part in those areas of the Ministry of Justice and the justice systems that are somewhat community based.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We are now seeing that the courts are backlogged with a lot of issues.
Mm-hmm.
And there are some issues that can be taken care of within the communities with the justice of the peace in order to relieve our court system of some of these cases and issues.
Mm-hmm.
So, as I said, restorative justice is one of those areas.
Mm-hmm.
Child diversion, again, is another area where we are trying to avoid placing young people in the system.
Mm-hmm.
Looking to try and divert them and put them on programs, give them community orders, so as not to put them too early in the system and almost giving them no way back once they've entered it.
All right, you're saying the system, but I'm not sure, even myself, but even more so our listeners. What do you mean when you say system, putting them in the system?
Well, the court system, the judicial system.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So we wouldn't, if there was a young person, for example, who had an infraction, probably in the past they may have gone straight into the court system, the juvenile courts and such.
Mm-hmm.
Now we have the child diversion program and
Mm-hmm.
the Child Diversion Act, which means that they can be referred to a child diversion officer via the courts or via CDA, or the renamed CDA, the Child Development Agency, so that they are not going straight to the court system, but rather the child diversion officer, who will create a program alongside the parents and alongside the school to try and divert that child away from the court system and almost rehabilitate them.
Okay, very interesting, because with such an approach, what it means is that our children are being treated a little bit more like humans now than just adult wayward people.
Absolutely. And I think with the inclusion of schools, parents, guardians, community members with the rehabilitation orders, It means that we see that it's that whole idea of it takes a village. So we realize that raising a child, particularly when there are problems at home or problems at school, sometimes it takes an entire support system to raise that child and to keep them out of trouble. So it's a collective effort between a number of parties in order to support the child and, as I said, divert them away from some of the negative activities that may force them into the court system.
Yeah, because I noticed, Rachel, that in some jurisdiction, especially black children, when they have, and black male children, when they have the little, well, let me not say little, when they have their infractions, they're called men. When white people have their situation, they're called boys or children. And so to have this approach now that you're telling me about seem to be respecting our children in terms of giving them a second chance in our own country, predominantly black. So I'm really heartened to hear this. Me particular, I'm really heartened. How do we promote this within our communities? Are we promoting this kind of thing in our communities?
We are. I mean, every parish has a justice centre. And in all justice centres, and there are also additional, for example, restorative justice centres. But every parish, or I believe nearly every parish now, and the ones that don't have are working to have a justice centre where you can access these services. For example, our child diversion officer in Trelawney is Mr. Blake, who is at the Justice Centre in Rock. And of course, we have Miss Stacey Ann Winter Thomas, who deals with restorative justice at the Justice Centre. So those persons are persons you can drop into the Justice Centre or call the Justice Centre for advice. Or, of course, there are also referrals which can come from the police, it can come from the courts, it can come from other stakeholders. So that, for example, if we have an issue in a community where there is a disagreement, instead of what normally would happen, which is persons going to court to take out a summons, they can go and have a mediation session, or if the infraction has already been committed, they can seek to have a restorative justice hearing or a conversation with the restorative justice officer, whereby we can try and solve the issue, resolve the issue before or avoiding the whole court system. Because as I've said before, we all know that our court systems are very backlogged, and there are some things which, with a level-headed mediator and with conversation, dialogue, and mutual respect, can be solved.
All right. Having said that, though, we've had a lot of crimes of, I don't know that I want to call it crime of passions, but spontaneous murders and stuff like that. From between neighbors, especially between neighbors. Some is between spouses too. But is there a consideration for getting this kind of, what should I say, mediation system or justice intervention at the level of the community immediately, so that a man having a problem or a woman having a problem and don't have no bus fare, don't find it so frustrating that she can't reach the justice center, but that justice can take place right there in the community? Is there any such facility?
Well, they can always call the justice center. Or, you know, as you said, I think that these particular interventions are very important for those domestic issues.
Yeah, very.
Because as you know, some of these domestic issues can explode into murderous situations.
And rapidly.
And exactly, rapidly. And sometimes if there is that intervention early on, I mean, for example, the whole point of restorative justice is that the offender takes responsibility for the offense. And that the victim feels empowered in seeking some sort of recompense for the offense that has been committed to them. Oftentimes, if we go through the court system, the victim doesn't feel very empowered, and they don't feel that they have been compensated fully for what has happened to
Mm-hmm.
them. So then
Mm-hmm.
there we still have a sense of festering bad feeling,
Mm-hmm.
which then passes out into the rest of the family and other members of the community.
Mm-hmm. And
So restorative justice,
go ahead. I'm sorry.
sorry, carry on.
No, you carry on. You were saying restorative justice.
Yeah, so the whole restorative justice can assist in areas like that. And as you said, stop that
Mm-hmm.
explosion and stop that continued festering,
Mm-hmm.
which leads to what you were discussing, those kind of domestic crimes,
Mm-hmm.
which
Mm-hmm.
elevate and go into very serious situations which don't only affect individuals, they affect entire communities and entire families.
Mm-hmm. And in addition to that, you know, going to court, going to the actual court before a magistrate or something like that, is actually an intimidating process sometimes. You know, people don't really want to do that. So this added layer is worthy of congratulations. I think that's a move in the right direction.
And you've made a very good point, because this process of restorative justice is very different. The actual environment and the way people are seated and the way they engage with one another is very different to the court setup.
Mm-hmm.
There are things such as called healing circles and conversation circles, where persons are made to sit facing each other, looking each other in the eye, so that they can engage and relate to one another, rather than the layout of a courtroom where persons are almost, stood side by side, not having to look at one another.
Yeah, man.
It's as you said, very intimidating, and
and
it's not a process where persons.
It's not very nice when the sergeant come out. Edward Wallace. Edward Wallace.
There you go. There you go. There you go.
Yeah.
This
So
entire process is different. It's a more informal, a more personal.
It just feels more civil.
Confidential.
It just feels more civil.
Exactly, and of the highest confidentiality.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing you speak about in those rooms, in that room, goes beyond that room.
Mm-hmm.
The persons can rest assured that if they have that issue, and they go in there with the person who, caused the offense to them, that nothing goes beyond that room. No, it doesn't go back out into the community what is discussed there.
All right, let us take the segue into mediation then. Now, what is the mediation process like from the JP's perspective? How do they play that role as mediator? How are they expected to perform? What kind of powers do the justices have to make decisions and make declarations in a situation?
Right. Well, it's not really a decision-making process per se. This is more about JPs are trained in the mediation process and given the tools so that if there is a dispute within their communities, they have the tools with which they can deal with it, sit down the offended parties, sometimes it's not so straightforward as having a victim and an offender. Often both parties feel offended. So it's not so easy to call one person out for wrongdoing and make the other person, right in all they've done. So as a mediator, a JP, as I said, often, JPs are seen as upstanding members of the community, fair, impartial, unbiased. They enter into the mediation process seating both parties down, if that is the way they choose to do it, to try and work out a resolution that is satisfactory to all. Oftentimes, we can't win them all, as they say. So it's about making sure that both parties during the mediation process feel comfortable with what the resolution is, and that not everybody will get everything they want.
All right. Having said that, there are times, and we have a tendency in Jamaica, and you did say justices are chosen from upstanding crop of citizens, so to speak. How do we avoid the pitfall of accusations of biases on the part of justices?
Repeat that again for me. You dropped out just a little bit.
Accusations of biases on the part of the justices. What do we do to kind of make sure that
Well,
does not happen, if ever?
I will say that we are human beings. However, if as justices of the peace, we actually utilize the training we have been given in a situation like that, a bias should not occur. Because really and truly, your position as a justice of the peace should take precedent over any personal relationship. I would also say that if there is that situation and mediation has occurred, and a person feels that there has been bias on the part of the justice of the peace, that maybe they call on another JP to come and enter the situation and mediate, rather than somebody who may be too close to the situation. And that is the right of the individual, because obviously if they feel, this person is far too close to the situation, friendly with the person, related to the person, and the outcome hasn't been fair and I haven't been heard, they are, as I said, well within their rights to go and seek another justice of the peace, or ask the justice of the peace who has, convened the session, to call in one of their fellow JPs to come and sit in on the session also. So there is a conference between them, and, there is a more, what can be seen as a more fair process or unbiased process.
All right.
As I said, training and the tools we are given should always take precedent. We are told in training that we are supposed to put our biases out of the window, leave them at the door, and come to it with a clean slate and address everybody as if they are strangers as such, and we are coming to the situation anew.
All right, tell us a little bit about the training curriculum.
The
training curriculum. What's involved in the training?
Well, the training curriculums differ. I mean, all training that we are given as justices of the peace are done through the Ministry of Justice and the Justice Training Institute. So everything has to go through them in order to be, certified, etc.
Okay.
Due to COVID, our training now is online. Previously, it would have been face to face, but it's an online process, interactive, where they ask for all persons participating to contribute in discussions, and obviously, it's often a 2-3 day, 2-3 full day training. Where persons are giving training materials. We are still asked to do things like role plays, contribute to discussions, give our opinions, and feedback on situations. It's not it's not like a classroom situation where the person just stands there and talks at you.
I got it.
We are given real life situations where we are asked to, what would we do as such in those situations?
All right. The next question is a question because I don't see it happening in my community. I don't know of it happening in any other community. How about the rollout for this kind of operation with respect to JPs within their communities?
Okay. We have very much been hindered by COVID, because I know this is something that was planned to be a very much, it was planned that we would go out into communities, engage persons, obviously through community meetings, individual justices of the peace, through churches and other networks. But we are kind of hindered because what we would have done otherwise in a face-to-face situation, much of it is online, and many of the persons who actually need this service can't access or don't access us online. So it's either particularly now with our kind of spike where we are, again, locked down a little bit more than we were. It's very difficult. So things like this interview and obviously word of mouth
Mhm.
are going to be very vital to spreading the word about things like this, because it is very important. And particularly now when we are all locked in close quarters, we may find that there are domestic situations which are brewing and blowing up much more than they would have done before.
Mhm.
So it's important that people listening, those of us that know, of course, all JPs, spread the word. And if you see a situation where it's a bit precarious and you see that it may turn into something, unpleasant, as a citizen, you can intervene and refer the person, or you can go to a justice of the peace in the community, inform them what has happened or what you have seen, and then they may decide to step in or give the person some referral information.
Mhm. Having mentioned COVID, Justice, having mentioned COVID, with a lot of our JPs traditionally are older persons because they have to prove their, what should I say, their standing in terms of morality and all of that. A lot of our JPs are usually older persons, most of them beyond the what I call the COVID age. How do we deal with that? Is there a plan to draft more JPs from a younger age group and fresher JPs, more JPs, all of that kind? Is there anything happening with recruitment?
Well, Ed, I would like to say that there was a particular plan, but as we know, COVID is no respecter of age, class, race, or anything like that.
Mhm.
So while we are obviously encouraging our older JPs to protect themselves as much as possible, do all of the protocols, and just by GOJ protocols, they are being told that they must stay inside as much as possible and things like that.
Mhm.
Everybody has to protect themselves equally, because we've seen deaths with COVID with persons in their 30s, persons in their teens.
Mhm. True.
So it's not a respecter of any demographic. We all have to protect ourselves equally the best we can, but we are definitely paying special attention to our older JPs, and the younger JPs are shouldering, as much of the work as possible. And as you said, when we are picking JPs, we don't always pick in terms of age.
Certainly. I know that.
Experience and your contribution to your community are equally as important, because you can have persons who are elderly who have never done anything for their communities, but a person who is in their 30s who has an extensive record of community work.
True.
And has done a lot of volunteer work, who is seen in their community to be reputable. So age is not the only kind of factor in terms of choosing a JP. And many of the JPs that we have in our cohort now are persons who have been JPs for a number of years. So they weren't picked in their senior years. They,
got you. That is so true. Yeah, got you.
Yes.
But is there a drive now though for more JPs in the system, given the backlog that you've spoken about and some of the things that we have to get rid of, COVID restricting travel and restricting interactions by any distance and stuff like that? Is there a plan to increase?
We are always looking for persons to apply to be Justice of the Peace. Again, persons who apply, though, must be aware of the work that it takes, the commitment that it takes. It's not just letters after your name. And obviously, you are, as I said, chosen on your experience and your contribution to your community. So we actively encourage persons to apply, but persons must be aware of what will be required of them.
All right.
That you will be required to do. It's being a JP is voluntary. You don't get paid. So if you're a person who does voluntary work already, and you're saying, I don't want to take on any more voluntary duties, then maybe it's not something for you, because this is another level of voluntary duty. As I said, when you obviously have to attend the court petty sessions, you will be called upon more to deal with child diversion. You will be called upon more to deal with restorative justice. You will be called upon more to deal with mediation. So the level of work is not decreasing for a justice of the peace, it's increasing.
All right.
So anybody that applies must be aware of that and must be committed to doing that job and doing it well.
Nice segue again. Tell me about the application process.
Okay, so persons can apply. You can go to the Ministry of Justice website where they can download the application form. Once they download the application form, then they can fill it out and just drop it off to the Office of the Customs. All of the requirements and the paperwork that needs to be submitted is stated on page 3 of the application form. So you must ensure that you sign it. You must ensure that you have 2 recommendations from a justice of the peace or a pastor, and that your identification information is certified. If you're a woman who is married and you have changed your name, you must also include your marriage certificate. So all of that information is on page 3 of the application. As I said, it can be downloaded from the Ministry of Justice website, and then you are asked to submit to the Office of the Customs. You are asked to submit to the Office of the Customs, and then obviously it will go through a process where you will be interviewed. There will be a background check and such.
All right, newly minted JP, Justice Rachel Webb. I thank you for coming to us here on Fit FM, Your Life, Your Music, Fit FM 96.7, Your Life, Your Music, where you have just made the general public across the world aware of how we do our business with respect to our JPs, the roles and functions, the application process, and all of that. I want to thank you again, Rachel, for coming to us and sitting with us to have this talk. I look forward to another talk pretty soon on other topics. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, and I hope everybody that's heard spreads the word, particularly about restorative justice, until we can get back on our feet.
Yeah, this is a beautiful
be
thing.
able to meet people face to face again.
All right. Thank you again, Rachel.
Thank you very much, Fit FM, and everybody stay well and healthy.
All right, bye. Thank you. Yes, you've just heard from a freshly minted Justice of the Peace, Miss Rachel Webb, in the Crawl area, Duncan's area. I could also say Prospect area. She a very well-rounded person. She's also into volunteerism herself. She is currently the president of the Parish Development Committee, and she does a whole lot of work in social work in our area and all of that kind of thing. I want to thank Miss Webb again, and as I said, I hope to talk to her another time, perhaps on the parish development committees and subcommittees, etc., etc., etc. We take a short break and we come right back. Fit FM, Your Life, Your Music. Ed Wallace on Community Buzz.
People see one. Yeah, just see one right. People see darkness. Yeah, just see sunlight. They just so. And when you buck your toe, them must say you buck a yo. One time you consistent, them never feature you. But as soon as you fall, I saw them picture you. Oh. I rather people write me off than judge a fight me off. Or people fight me off than judge a write me off. I rather people write me off than judge a fight me off. So go and fight me, judge a like me. People see one, and judge a see one right. People see dark days, yeah. And judge a see sunlight. When them say I'm doing right, you're by my side. But when you feel I'm doing wrong, you run to hide. In the presence of the Almighty, I will abide. Cause if you try to live with people, you slip and slide. I'd rather people write me off than judge a fight me off. Or people fight me off than judge a write me off. I'd rather the people them write me off than judge a fight me off. So come on, fight me, judge like me, yeah. People see one, and judge see alright, yeah. People see darkness, but judge, and judge see sunlight. Got a plank in the eye, so why you've been inspecting me, and you're almost blind. Try to see the speck in me. It's like you said the Lord thing. You keep on judging me, while Jesus set me free. People see Jaja see one right. People see darkness. Jaja see sunlight. So go shine your light. People see one.
Yes, we're back. My producer don't know about this. Just swing me back in the place. Just so, just quick. I tell you again, the music rocking the place. Sybil Hyatt, thanks for tuning in. Dr. Asha, you always, thank you too. Essence Web, thank you, Essie. I come to think of it, you know, Justice Thomas. All right, okay, Justice Web. And yeah, I acknowledge that is Spicy Hill area that that Rachel is in. So thank you for that piece of information. And as I say, thank you for all those tuning in. You're listening to Community Buzz, the Buzz on Fit FM 96.7, Your Life, Your Music. And this is Ed Wallace sitting in as your host, as usual, for this program. We're going to take a look now, as we usually do, at COVID statistics for the past day and perhaps week. All right, so over the last 24 hours, we've had 287 new cases of COVID. You remember when we were on them 900 and them thing there? I figure more or less that if you check back 2 weeks, we're now seeing the fruits of people being frightened by them 900 figures there. What do you think, producer? I think people have been responding to the 900 figures. So we're down to 287. Yesterday it was, I think, 500 and change. And the day before that was 300 and change. We have a total of 38,514 cases recorded since March of last year. All right. So I know what I want to know. The significant number is that we have 20,334 active cases. That are the number. Then now we start to look at, we had 16 deaths, which was significant. I think I don't see a higher rate of death in a 24-hour period than this. So this is kind of a record in a day. And we have total deaths since March of last year, 586. We have 477 people who are hospitalized, and 42 of them are critical, which means that we are perhaps going to see more deaths. The thing I want to say is that the 447 is one of the most important numbers here, because that is the number of hospitalized persons. That is the number of persons, that is the number that we want to keep as low as possible. Why? Because we don't have a hospital bed space, right? That's simple. We don't have the hospital bed space. And we can't go out and make ourselves available to COVID in ways without consideration, and then blame the authorities for not having room in the hospitals to fit people. I saw a video the other day with people on the floor of a hospital. Somebody told me that it was Spanish Town. I'm not so sure how that going, because this day and age you have so much fake news and that kind of a thing. But it truly sounded like Jamaica, and it could have been Spanish Town. But that is not what you want to see. You don't want you don't want yourself to be on a hospital floor. You don't want your loved ones to be on a hospital floor. And last year, early this time, I distinctly heard Dr. Chris Tufton saying, and Prime Minister Andrew Holden saying, that we don't want to be the ones who is going to choose who is going to be on a ventilator. The thing is real, and we have to try. And even though we're trying, some of us will try, we still get caught. But the fact of the matter is that we must try and keep trying. So that's COVID stats. I want you to listen a little clip, because if you think we're alone in this as Jamaica, we're certainly not. And I'm not going to use North America, talking right down in the Caribbean here. And here's a man who have grown to respect just by interaction on Facebook, just by listing him on Facebook. He is a Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago. I think he's Dr. Keith Riley, down there in Trinidad. And we're going to listen to some of the things that he has been saying to his population. If you think we're so different, think again.
Where the action that is required to confront an outbreak are the actions that we had to do in early 2020, the consequences will be personally for you very serious. One, there would be no resources to provide a government bailout. So those of you who know who you are, the many tens of thousands of you who received a government check, and all of you kept very quiet when you got it. The handful of people who didn't get it made a lot of noise. But those of you, the tens of thousands of you who received a government check, I'm putting you on notice now. If we, as a population, find ourselves back in that situation, where those are the decisions to be made and the actions to be taken, there are no resources to hand out checks like that. If you are in the business community, and you are one of those who got a government check, as any part of the response, whether it was a VAT refund, whether it was support for your business and so on, the resources have been used up. If it is that you relied very heavily on a government food box that we gave out, tens of thousands of those that came to your household, you know who you are and you know what you got. It was not free, it was paid for by the government. If we find ourselves having to ask you to stay home, and your bosses ask you not to come to work because they are closing the door of the business because they can't pay salaries, because they have no income coming into the business, if you are one of those people, just remember, those are the consequences that are likely to flow if we do not stay the course as is required. I know there are voices who are telling you about the benefits to be had if we make the changes. open up this and open up that, as if we're not in a pandemic. But of course, if we tell ourselves that we are in the post-pandemic, well, then the open up this and the open up that for those benefits are good conversations. What they're not telling you in seeking to get those benefits are the consequences of overreach or carelessness. I prefer to err on the side of respecting the consequences because they are so grave. It reminds me of a time when, over 40 years ago, I was a student in the United Kingdom, and I go out traveling all over the country. And I was out in the Lake District, and there was a very, very steep road. The gradient was extremely steep. And there were corners on the road, and there were warning signs. As soon as you approach the area, there were very prominent warning signs telling all drivers to gear down and do not exceed a certain speed limit. And the signs were there all the time. And then eventually there's a huge sign which simply said, "You have been warned." And that is where we are in Trinidad and Tobago today. You have been warned.
You see it? That is Dr. Keith Riley of Trinidad and Tobago. So if you really believe that Jamaica is the only country in this, and it's only Jamaica such a happen, and it's only Jamaica that a happen, and it's only Jamaica this a happen, I'm telling you, if we reach beyond ourselves, we will see that it is not just us. So when I hear some people coming out and talking about, there's another clip, but it's a little bit longish, coming from one of the artists, Ricky Trooper, talking about how the government locked down the church. And it's a very populistic argument to make out, You pretty much feel kind of, I don't want to accuse him of anything. Let me put it this way. We have to understand things in their context. We have to understand things in their context. And it might sound good to be batting for the church in relation to lockdown and COVID. Firstly, it's not the church alone that the government has asked to be locked down. It's not the church alone. You have parties locked down. You have situation set up or mitigation measures set up for public transportation, the workplace, all about. But let me show you this. We're talking about opening the church so people can worship. There's a whole lot that could be said about worship. I know for some people, if they're not in the sanctuary, worship not feel good. But the truth of the matter is, Christ had asked, whose prayer is heard? Man who pray loud out there in the sanctuary, or the man who go in the corner, go say, Lord, forgive me and help me. That's just one. But to take you from the biblical perspective for a minute, there is a recent survey out, a very recent survey, that tells us about where people caught COVID, perhaps how and who have been catching COVID. Now, here are the stats go. 3% of the respondents to the survey, the participants to the survey, said they got their COVID while at church. 8% said they got it through family. So more people get it through family than at church. Another 8% said they got it at a party or a social event. 25% say public transport. Another 30% said workplace. And 17% of the respondents did not know where they might have gotten COVID. The people who are calling and batting on behalf of the church seem to not recognize that their argument that church only have a little bit of percentage, their argument that church have only a little bit of percentage mean that church should be opened up, don't realize that they're inadvertently arguing that until church people start getting off COVID, we must open church. I don't know what kind of backhanded argument that. I really don't understand what kind of backhanded argument. Because if the churches, and the funny thing about it, en masse, I don't hear the churches complaining. The churches seem to have made their pivot and is using social media to carry the message. Sunday night I was in church, Wesleyan Holiness Church in Lilliput. I was on my phone. A very powerful message came over from that pastor in Pastor Thorpe's church. He had a guest preacher. And the message didn't hit me as any lighter than if Reverend Eugent, and you know Reverend Eugent, a good pastor, was in the pulpit at Baptist Church with me sitting in there. So the churches, for the greater part, are trying to comply because the churches seem to realize that there's a Isaiah 26 verse 20 which tell you to go home and lock yourself away for a time. Quarantine yourself. The churches seem to recognize that. But because it's popular, we seem to think that we are going to get some badge of honor for batting for the church. Let me tell you something, the church can bat for itself. And better yet, God can bat for himself. Right? And if God has given us examples of lockdown and shutdown, in Exodus 12, 1 to 14, it said the same thing. That's the Passover. Go in, eat your food, go in, kill your meat, season it up a particular way, set up your bread where you go eat with your meat, cook the meat properly, sit down and eat. And when you lock your door, mark the blood over your door, lock your door, and you and your family sit down in there till God tell you to come out. That's a quarantine. The angel of death will pass over you. So don't believe that the church is not aware of what they're doing in respect to either complying or not complying with the church. But I want to say one more thing. I don't know if the authorities are being smart when you don't reveal the conversations that you're having with the various bodies to say that we are in such and such agreement. Because you have people who come back with arguments that just no hold no water, not making no sense. So we could just hold on the whole business of saying church are comply. Them not have no COVID case. So open up the church and make it open up war. You think the pastors aren't wise? You think the pastors don't have wisdom overall? So I could just circle myself and stop talk for God. Because here another man come out, come talk for God. I tell you, see. I tell you. In a one passage of scripture, I see if I can find it on my phone now. It was actually sent to me by another listener. And it was telling people to wear mask. 3,500 years ago, the scripture said, go wear a mask. Here I say, and parts of it cut off. Pastor Ivan Rollins, thank you for this one. Pastor Ivan Rollins. 3,500 years ago, stop this. And it speaks to Exodus 30, 18 to 21. Wash your hands. It spoke to Leviticus 13, 4, 5, and 46. Keep your distance. Cover your mouth and avoid contact. And there's more. So when you decide to pick up and talk on behalf of the church, when we have our pastors, you have that second Dr. Riley thing queued up. We can go for it. When you have our pastors, who generally are the shepherd of the flock, why not let them speak? You're out of your league. So let them speak. So what we need to address according to this no is that we keep the church at 3% if we can, keep the family at 8% and try to reduce it. But certainly, and parties, same way, but certainly work on public transport 25%, work on the workplace at 30%, and try to find out what go on with the 17% who don't know where they get it from. So before we jump on a bandwagon and go on, make we put things in context and listen, read, so that when a pastor comes out now, and I'm going to take a break because I want you to hear what Dr. Keith Riley in Trinidad had to say. The situation is not different. You ready, producer? The situation, listen now. Also patient with us. You're listening to Fit FM 96.7, your life, your music. We're ready.
Every person who could influence another person. That makes you, in this situation, a leader. And that is why today I want to identify the public position taken by Archbishop Gordon, who has spoken to those who he influences, including the national community, to take these exhortations seriously, to take our response to the virus seriously. And I'm sure that there are many people who would listen to him in a way that they would not listen to me or to you, media personnel. And that is why I feel so strongly about us holding this course after a year of sacrifices, that I want today to appeal to every person who believes that he or she is a leader of a group in the days ahead, to make that kind of appeal and take that kind of public position to those who you may influence, to please, in this situation, in the days and weeks ahead, to give priority to our individual behavior in responding to the virus. If we do that, we will save ourselves the problem and the millions of dollars that would be actually wasted in trying to respond to a second wave or a third wave. Every person who is the leader of anything, whether it is your football club, the Queen's Park Club, the Presbyterian Church, the Mahasabha, if you are in a leadership position, we are in this fight together. And I make that appeal today also to the opposition leader. Because there are many people in this country, who, especially those who get their news from social media, where technology is useful, but technology is also bringing out the stupidity that lies in the underbelly of the population. Every leader in the next few days, ask your flock to pay attention and to cooperate. And I guarantee you, if we do that, we will come out of the next couple of weeks in a way that will allow our primary school children to enjoy what they have been deprived of for a year. Do that for the children.
Yeah, so again, you see, Jamaica is not unique in the struggle against COVID. And it's the same thing that is being asked of the people of Trinidad, that is being asked of the people of Barbados, being asked of the people of Antigua, being asked of the people all across the Caribbean. So unless you want to say all these prime ministers and leaders of countries are in a conspiracy against the people of the country, their individual countries, and against the church themselves, then unless you want to make that point, don't you see that we are all in the same boat? All we have to do is to listen a little wider. So now you take your leadership influence and you try to help people not to get this virus, because it's not good for Jamaica, 477 cases in the hospital is enough. We can't afford any more. We have seen pictures of people in hospital on the floor. Not only that, some of us know personally, including me, that there are people in hospital sleeping on chairs. So what do? Bundle up as if only the government responsible, only the opposition responsible. We don't have no responsibility to work with the protocols, work with the ODPM and the measures. We don't have no such responsibility. And when we're done now, we ask for services. And then, as Keith Royally said, we'll look to government for money from COVID bailout. What are we thinking, Jamaica? Trelawney, I hope we're not involved in that. I hope desperately that we're not in that. The measures that the government has asked for. Firstly, if we count back 2 weeks from yesterday, a figure more or less, you'll see a 900 figure for that day in terms of number of cases for that Sunday, one Sunday ago. I think you'll see a 900 figure. I mean, 2 Sundays ago, because we take 14 days. So if we look at that figure, we should be seeing something in the 900 region. It would seem to me that some people started to take precautions from then. And so you see this figure start falling off. If we don't continue, then the numbers are going to go right back up there. So the 3 weekends that the government of Jamaica has asked us for is 3 weekends that we should take, utilize as best as possible in terms of making family time, getting intimate personally with God or your maker for that matter, and to do other valuable things that we would not have had the time to do. That's all we need to do, you know. It may be harder for others, for some than others, because some people are looking out for the cash that they make on a weekend, and some people only make weekend cash. God know that. But we have to make the sacrifice. We just have to. We have no alternative. We have no alternative, you know. So let us just look at what we're really facing, knowing fully well that we're not alone, and that the other countries in this kind of scenario, they're doing nothing different. They're still trying to get people to wear the mask, to get people to hand sanitize, to get people to hand sanitize, wash their hands, get people to social distance, you know, and get people to turn the yard if needs be. If they can help going out, stay home, you know. So these are basically what we've been doing over time. Now, here are next catch. The figures in the US seem to be going down because they have mass vaccination, nearly 2 million in 100 days with them new president. Figures seem to be going up. Our minister, Mr. Ed Bartlett, immediately cites opportunity for the tourist sector. Now, when we believe that Mr. Bartlett behave kind of weird, because on hear me say it already. But Mr. Bartlett is now seeing an opportunity for Jamaica and for Jamaicans to tap into the tourist sector again. Now, if COVID runs rampant in Jamaica, what is going to happen to all those jobs that we lost? When I played the tape of the fruit vendors in a Falmouth last week. What was their argument? Their argument was that we don't get much tourists, but the people that were working at the tourist sector, they come and they support us. It means that if people don't work, people can spend money at the shops, the bars, the offering plate at church. People just can't spend no money. They don't have no money for spend. So we need to take our personal responsibility for COVID right now. And as Dr. Keith Royally said, if we're leaders in any quarter to promote proper behavior with respect to COVID, and if you're convinced that the vaccine can help, you promote the vaccine, but you don't try to cut down or shut down anything when you don't have the basis of evidence. You have your speculation, you have your conspiracy, you have all of that. But I'm not so sure that the best thing to do is to preach us out of doing the best we can do, because we cannot assume that our government here in Jamaica or our governments all across the Caribbean is in a conspiracy to kill off black people. That's not making a lot of sense. We cannot try to convince ourselves that the church have to keep their mouth shut, so we have to talk on their behalf. Church leaders are not fools. The Archbishop in Trinidad came out and made a speech. And I'm certain that there are Jamaican pastors, Jamaican bishops, Jamaican church Christian pastors who are reaching out now to their congregation to say, yeah, we need to do the thing. So I could just work with it. We just work with it. I have a question out there. And the question is saying, what was the final miracle? I'm going somewhere with it. What was the final miracle that Christ engaged in before his crucifixion? No. Yes, I forget. The numbers 876-482-4944 for texting. All right, and then we have 876-317-1991. Text in the answer. Just text in the answer, right? Final miracle. I soon will get the answer, you know, so I soon have no bun and cheese. Well, my boss promised. All right, now the declaration at Christ's birth. And I talk about pastor now. I don't want to preach. This is not a preaching show. This is not a religious show. It's community buzz. Let me just remind you, community buzz on Fit FM 96.7, your life, your music, and you're with your host, Ed Wallace. But hear the thing with me now. I believe in my Bible. I say, if my Bible can't help me solve the problems I have to solve, I'm going to dash away. And I've not seen one that help me with. All right? So, come to this. The declaration made by the angels at the birth of Christ, or one of the declarations, was peace on earth, goodwill to men. Peace on earth, goodwill to men. The gospel, then said the gospel means good news. And what is the good news? Love. Good news is love. So tell me, how comes any man calling himself a man of God can come out and say the prime minister must be killed? How can, and that's why I call him past your prophet. Profit, pasture. Past your prophet. How can you, after the word of God is declared, peace on earth, goodwill to men, good news, love, how can you come out and say, there is death in my mouth, death for the prime minister, death for his sons, death for his wife, death for the cabinet, death, death, death. Yeah, me Simon the Sorcerer. Cool, yeah, man. Cool. Cool. Is it church or religion, Christian religion? I don't know which one is best used. Has had in its fabric for years this thread of a thirst for blood. Somewhere one strand of thread run this thirst for blood. And it has corrupted the good news in a lot of ways, because you find more unbelievers coming on board because of the negative argument, because of this thread, rather than staying off board, rather than coming on board. And may I say, oh, my fellow Jamaicans, we need to read, do more documentaries, listen and watch. Right? Because when I say a thirst for blood in the fabric of our Christian religion, I'm backing it up with saying that in 1095 AD, Pope Urban II released as many soldiers from Rome that he could into the Holy Land to kill Muslims for the sake of God, as if God can do it himself. One soldier who they call it a crusade, and that crusade lasted, actually, believe it or not, with all the mini crusades after that, it lasted until 1494, when Christopher Columbus left round us or come round us. Right? But one crusader, describing what happened in the Holy Land, said that at one stage he was up to his ankle in the blood of heretics. What heretics? We might call heretics people, human being what God make. But they were Muslims. And when you read the account of how Pope Urban came about to that position, you marvel today. So we had that taking place and run till 1494. Then we had the Dark Ages, church again. That's why we talk about separation of church and state. Church again. The Inquisition. Whole heap of witch burning, because neighbor could tell lie upon neighbor, say neighbor witch. Whole heap of book burning. Whole heap of heretics again. Because if one does not think with the church, one must die. And that lasted up to the point of the wars of Napoleon. Right? No, some people go and tell me, Ed, and the church people, these are not Christians, this is another religion. But we always find a way to divide ourselves. I'm just follow me a little bit. Follow me a little bit. And as we know, better me not say this. The Inquisitors were the Inquisitors. I could identify them, but I don't think it's necessary for me to go there. Fast forward into the 20th century. We have a man named Jim Jones. Take people out of them good Seventh-day Adventist church and carry them to Guyana. And go make them drink poison because God tell him say that thing for do. All the names that I'm calling, Google them if you feel like. Google them. So Jim Jones kill off a whole heap of people in Guyana, make everybody drink poison. And we have other situations. Then, if that was not enough, we had a man named David Koresh in Waco, Texas. And you can call them the Branch Davidian because that was what they were known of. Not as. Them lead people, David lead people to their death. lead people to their death. We have solid Christians out of the Church of England, or who believe themselves to be solid Christians out of the church. We still talk about that aggression, that bloodthirstiness, that streak there. Wheat and tears have grown together, that streak. Who stoned the house of William Knibb in Falmouth for 3 straight nights and days, I think it was. And I can be corrected on the time, but they stoned the house. Christian them from the Church of England, who backed slavery. And William Knibb, who is an abolitionist, man who against slavery. Yes. Sometimes I get tongue twisted. So they stoned this house for 3 nights and days, best of my recollection. But you cannot check it. Google it there. Right? Because he was believing that slavery was not supposed to be a Christian thing to do. So William Knibb, if they could kill him, they would. After all of this history that me outline, we seem not to have learned anything. Because here's this pastor, come out, saying that another man should be killed because he's against the church. Pretty much the same thing what Urban say, Pope Urban say. The Muslims against the church. So against Christ, the body of Christ. As if Christ can't defend himself. As if God can't defend himself. Had it been a Muslim cleric who did this, you would not have heard the end of it. Had it been a Muslim, again, Google this, Salman Rushdie, writer of the Satanic Verses, a book that went against the grain of Muhammad and his religion. And immediately, they called for his death. And immediately, the West responded as to how wicked and gruesome the Muslims were. But then we have this on our Christian record. When a French cartoonist drew a picture of Muhammad, the prophet, same thing happened, called for death. Same response. How could they? What a wicked religion. But then we have this pastor calling for the killing of another human being in Jamaica here, and you're hardly hearing a sound. Remember where I began. Peace on earth, goodwill to men. Peace on earth, goodwill to men. That's where I started.
You have some winners, man.
You have some winners or some takers. Peace on earth, goodwill to men. That's where we started. Now, close the text in for the answers, because now we're going to get the answer. Peace on earth, goodwill to men. The gospel, good news. And the good news was love. Here is a pasture, I said, defending the faith and calling for blood. Defending the church and calling for blood. Because this prime minister disrespects the church. Here we go now. The first Holy Thursday, the very, very first Holy Thursday in history, Christ sit down in the Garden of Gethsemane. I said to God, me no want dead. If you could, let this cup pass from me. Me no want dead. But him no say, The job had to be done. Right, that's what the thing said. So them did all them disciples them fall asleep around him because they were not, the amount of pray. Then say him pray until his sweat was like blood. Disciple them drop asleep on him and all them kind of thing there. But in the wee hours of the morning, forward, Judas and a new posse come for arrest Christ. Judas run up, pop kiss. So Jesus kind of back him off and say, yeah, man, do what you come for do. And make we go on. No bother with the platitudes. Do what you come for do and make we go on. So a little man named Peter, I believe. Say, well, off, how are them boy for? Peter pull out his sword and chop off for 9 man years. Christ turned to Peter and said, Peter, what you do? What is? No, man, you can't do this. And the last miracle before crucifixion was done. Christ take up the ears and put your hand back. Anybody get the answer? Yeah. Take up the ears and put his hand back. No. That was not the church being attacked when they come to arrest Christ. It was Christ himself who turned to who would be the leaders of the church after him, Peter, and said, no, Peter, this is not what you have to do. When I kill them, I put on back the ears. How dare you, Peter, if you can cut off the man's ears? I know that way about. You laugh, producer. Why? Eh? I know this we are pre. You're right. I know this we are pre. So how dare any man calling himself a man of God, a prophet of God, to demand the killing of any human being at all for dissing the church? Christ himself is being dissed here. Christ himself is being attacked here. Christ himself, after the man he is cut off in defense of Christ, take up the ears and put it on back and say, I know this we are pray. So where does this doctrine of blood comes from, if not the very bowels of hell? Where does it come from? Death coming out of my mouth. Death on this. Death. Where does that come from? I tell you once, people, in history, recorded history, there's been about 22 crucified saviors, about 150 virgin births, but 22 saviors in history. This man has followers. This Mr. Chambers has followers. Up to 1,000, I hear him say. This man has followers. I'm saying we all must be very careful of which Calvary we stop. 22 of them. Enough confusion out there. We all must be careful of which Calvary we decide to stop. It's not an easy thing to decide. But the good book says, by the fruits we shall know them. Death coming out of my mouth is not a good fruit. Death coming out of my mouth is not a good fruit. I'll leave that with you and I take a break to examine the winners of the prize. We'll take a little break. We'll be right back with you. Fit FM 96.7. Your life, your music.
If everything in life was right, then we would never have to fight. So if we never use the brain,
then only carcass would remain. If man had never used his hands, then he would never understand the joys of making this and that and winning money from the slot. Forget about stupidity. Discover your ability. Develop your creativity. Cultivate humility to brave the stormy weather. Oh, my brother, and heed my foolish words. You see, the more you give to life is the more you get from life. So go on and give. Don't count the cost. And the less you give to life is the less you're gonna get from life. So go on and save your dough. Your soul might belong. If every man should be the boss, there'd be no one to groom the horse, mechanics none to fix the car, no humble man to spread the tar. Imagine everyone on top. Now tell me what the hell could stop top heavy from a fatal drop. Extinct would be the mortal crop. It's time we learn to be satisfied. Curtail resources running dry. Too much have you, get rid of some. There are too many who have none. Oh, my brother, help them to face the stormy weather. Heed my foolish word once again. You see, the more you give to life is the more you're gonna get from life. So go on and give. Don't count the cost. And the less you give to life is the less you're gonna get from life. So save your dough. Your soul might be lost. You see, the more you give to life is the more you're gonna get from life. So go on and give. Don't count the cost. And the less you give to life is the less you're gonna get from life. So save your dough. Your soul might be lost. You gotta give if you got. To those who have not.
Hey, I tell you, I just got caught off guard. So here, well, no, we have some winners. I'm discombobbled a little bit. The first person who came in with the answer to the question, as my producer is telling me, is Pastor Yvonne Rollins, who the America not supposed to eat no bun and cheese, so she not get none. Right? So, Pastor Rollins, I think we have a caller online. Huh? Okay. Good afternoon. Welcome to Fit FM 96.7, Your Life, Your Music. Talk to me. I hear you're out of Philadelphia. Talk to me.
Blessed, my brother, calling from Philadelphia.
Who this?
Something,
who? Me have to ask you that, Patra. Who this?
It's your brother, Robert Roach.
We hear the voice. You know, say, the first time you came on this program, with us, you know, my producer like you off and say she like how you talk. Should I love to hear you again? This, yeah, man, very first time.
Well, that will definitely be my first or second stop on my.
I tell you, man. All right.
Which we don't know.
Go and listen to me for a second. Let me just read out a little piece. I read out, yeah, and get back to you. So,
no problem, sir.
Anita Williams also hit the nail on the head, right? And got it correct. But I know Anita personally. She don't eat bun and cheese.
Me know too, so we will eat her bun and cheese. We will eat it for you. Thank you, Anita. Thank you, Anita, with the Lilliput. We will eat the bun, yes.
Thanks for participation, for true.
And
then now,
Yvonne Rollins.
Yeah, Yvonne not get no neither. She that foreign.
No, she said, me want me bun. She said, me want me bun.
All right. The next one, Carlene Street. Carlene Street.
Oh, she's Matalawa. She's she's in Atlanta.
Carlene Street. She in Atlanta.
When we eat her, 1, 2, 3.
Rerun. The people.
Eat them bun.
Rerun. Robert.
Sir.
You know, see people, the people them win them bun and cheese off a question where we ask them, and we not give them it. We them.
Well, you know, I'm over here in this one situation.
I tell you.
know?
So what go on, my brother? What go on a feeling? What go on a feeling?
Well,
how COVID
life is
treat you?
improving. I must say that life is improving in Philly.
Okay, cool. You're on a new government, man.
Because
you're a new government.
And that is the reason why life is improving.
I tell you.
What happened is that this Biden administration,
yes,
their approach to the COVID situation, it's not anything else. It's all about the approach to COVID. And I think America has moved from zero to hero.
That sounds good.
You know, the United States here, we have the most cases in the world and the most death in the world.
No, man, I think Brazil beat you.
With death?
Both death and cases.
Really? Brazil has more than 550,000 deaths?
Yeah, man. Brazil bad, man.
Wow, I must double check that. Well,
I understand corrected. If you find it differently, let me know.
I'll check in time, but if we are not last or first on that list,
I tell you,
which is not exactly exemplary.
Yeah,
Not
so you were saying,
I'm just saying that the influence of the Joe Biden strategy of pushing the vaccine fast and being more serious about the I think the Donald Trump administration, led by Trump himself, was just not taking the virus seriously. And anybody anywhere in the world that don't take this virus seriously is to the people's detriment. You cannot go around something that you cannot control.
Yeah, for real.
You know, and I think so. On the U.S. front, I think things are on the big improve. But when I put on my spyglass and look over to Jamaica,
and that may ask you though, why are you here about Jamaica?
Well, I tell you this. In 2020, Jamaica was an inspiration to us in the United States. Because the Jamaican government took it seriously and the people were more or less taking it seriously.
Yeah.
What I've seen, I mean, I have a lot of sympathy knowing that most people are looking at 2021 as the end of COVID. For some reason, people are looking at it as a 2020 disease. And then the 2021 came, and I think Jamaicans lost it. I think they lost their patience. I think they lost it. And my country is going to suffer for that. It's you know, it is a sad situation. It bleeds the heart from this side when I look back home, and I do follow the news and follow a lot of social media, and Jamaica is not impressing me at the moment. The people on a whole are not impressing me, and I'm talking specifically to COVID and the response of the people. It is weird. I see people on social media that are talking just like Trump. It is the weirdest thing I've ever seen. And I'm talking prominent Jamaicans, I'm talking Rastafarian people. I'm talking prominent people. I'm talking pastors. It's the weirdest thing that people are speaking just like Trump or just like Trump supporters. It is, and I don't think they even realize the space that they are taking up.
I tell you.
How can a person not believe in something that is in every single country on earth and killing people in every single country on earth?
I tell you.
What type of I don't even know what a conspiracy is anymore. Ed. It is the weirdest thing to me. So now I hear Jamaicans fighting against the vaccine.
Yeah, a lot of that is happening.
Is this just the people that are on social media?
Let me give you
this a really?
Let me give you a piece of news. You see, one of the things my government do, and by government, my government, I mean my government, the government of Jamaica.
Right.
Earlier on in the year, they set up a budget of $442 million, rerun, to promote COVID vaccination throughout the country.
Yes.
The opposition party in the House objected to the $422 million. And the government promptly withdrew it. Now, hear what I say. The government, to my mind, made a statement in the withdrawing of that $442 million because the government just said to me, say, yo, say it could have cost less and we didn't know. So we take it off the table. It's either that or the opposition just totally frightened the government. But certainly you have people in this country who really are not seeing the probability of the number of body bags that we could have coming out of COVID if we don't do something about it. So that is one thing that is happening there. And to tell you the truth, Ruth, we just played some excerpts from a media presentation by the Prime Minister of Trinidad. And it's primarily the same experiences they're having down there. People are just not listening. And you have the weirdest kind of people coming up with some thoughts.
I am trying, even your audience listening now. I'll just put the big question out there. Have they ever heard about 6-week clinic? All these the people listening right now to this program. Have you ever heard about 6 weeks clinic? Which mother in Jamaica misses the 6 weeks clinic with their child?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Did anybody tell them that 6 week clinic
is about vaccination?
Mm-hmm. Like, seriously, all of us have vaccinations.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it has not done us anything. I know the weirdest thing, Ed, is that vaccinations over the years, I have been skeptical like every other black person or non-white person, because non-white people have been used as guinea pigs for vaccines for many, many, many years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And for the first time, white people are now the guinea pig for this vaccine.
Mm-hmm.
And we're giving the same conversation. We're making the same point when white people are the ones that are first taking the
vaccine.
This thing. It is weird.
Mm-hmm.
It is just weird. The evidence, it is a frustrating thing, because I know that Jamaica is going to suffer economically because they won't fall in line and get it right.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It's going to take longer to come back.
I was making the point earlier, Robert, that with you guys up there getting the vaccine and things seeming to running towards normalcy in a kind of way, that when Ed Bartlett is talking about the rebound of tourism, I mean, he has been very, what should I say, exuberant about getting the tourism going. But know that there may be an opportunity, if we're not ready then Ed Bartlett ship sink. The tourism ship totally sink. And the funny thing, it won't affect Ed Bartlett, you know. It won't affect the minister, you know. It will affect every single young person who work in the tourist industry and people who them buy things from.
And they spill off, yeah. It is weird. Jamaica could have a great Christmas, a great tourist season coming up. If they stay as disciplined as they were in the beginning of this thing.
I take your point.
I there are some stars, Jamaican stars, that have come out. My stars, because the Bujus and the Spraggers and the Tanya Stevens are people I grew up and listened to, still listen to, respect their music, but I'm very disappointed.
And Ricky Trooper is another.
Yes, well, the reason why I don't name Ricky Trooper in this lineup is because Ricky Trooper is a known politician. So it is, it is hard to know where he's coming from. Like, seriously.
That's what I mean.
All right? Even the pastor that said he wanted the prime minister dead, this pastor, people seem to forget that he was a pastor that predicted that Andrew Holness would have lost the elections. He said God told him. And it was a prophecy. Now, if you make a prophecy and say God tell you and your prophecy is wrong,
there's a difference.
Shouldn't you be called a false prophet? Like, no, you have proven that you're a false prophet. Like, and I'm talking to Christians now. Christians, how can you believe in a person that tell you that God told him this and it didn't happen? Something is wrong there. Like, it is ridiculous.
Oh, but we'll have no. Mr. Roach, you know that there's a difference between prophecy, which is PROPHECY, I think. And there's a difference between that and PROFIT-SEE, prophecy.
It is weird.
That's a serious question.
Long before him, there was sometime last year, there was a female pastor last year in Jamaica. That was basically preaching the same thing, that the prime minister is fighting against church because he's limiting the amount of people that can come together. Like, seriously? Like what? Are we so uneducated? Like,
no,
I was a child,
I keep saying politics is going to be the death of our nation,
Probably. Because when I was a child growing up in Jamaica, a woman wearing pants was sin. And the church have evolved because women have more rights now. And women decide that I wear what I want to wear. And the church had to adjust themselves.
Forget about
so
that.
For people who don't realize that the church has been adjusting itself every year for how many thousands a year, how many 100 years now, the church have always adjusted itself. Women couldn't be pastors one time.
True.
So the church has adjusted itself. So when people come with these fast rules that they take out of the Bible or wherever and say this is it and etc., that's not the way the world runs. Jamaica is going to suffer. So I'll give a quick example. I don't think I will be visiting Jamaica this year, only because of how Jamaicans have behaved.
So you mean the COVID thing would have taken you outside of Jamaica for this year?
Yes, if I'll most likely go to Canada.
Okay.
I can't come to Jamaica when Jamaica is behaving like that. It doesn't make any sense. When I come, I'll be limited because lockdowns cannot stop until the thing is under control.
Right.
And without, it is.
And
it is egg and the
without us
chicken.
acting in a particular way, it's going to continue to be as bad. So you won't get to come. I see what you mean.
Yes, sir. And that particular is called discipline. And Jamaicans have we have always been in discipline, but my God,
I tell you.
it is past. I'm seeing some things out of Jamaica that I can't believe, and I didn't leave Jamaica a long time ago, just 4.5 years ago. And it is weird, the things that I'm seeing coming out and what is accepted as normal and things like that. Like a pastor advocating for murder is normal. People are defending him. In fact, politician is in parliament defending that. It's the weirdest thing. I've never seen anything like that from, I've never seen anything like that from when I was born.
I see what you mean.
It is weird. I saw the Rasta guy, Crawford.
I
saw Mr. Crawford, Senator Crawford, defending that. And I'm like, and then he's defending it and then pretending as if that's not what he's defending. And all of this stupidity. COVID is a medical problem. It's not a political problem.
That's a point.
So
That's a very good point.
Yeah, if a Jamaican don't like the Prime Minister, that's cool. Because you have an option, you have the PNP, you can vote for. So when election is called, you just go and vote PNP.
That's a good point.
But that has nothing to do with COVID.
That's a good point.
It is weird.
To the extent that it has anything to do with COVID is to the extent that you feel that somebody could manage COVID better. But strictly speaking, right? But strictly speaking, it has nothing to do with.
Yeah, but just like the point you made earlier with the government withdrawing that education program or cutting it down, that was most likely a political decision. That's a poor decision. Because it's not about politics.
Certainly not.
If the people want to vote out, that's it.
Shouldn't be about politics.
It is, and you know who dealt with it as a political issue? Donald Trump.
Well, you can see it. But I must say, as you say that, let me tell you something. In terms of the opposition party, it's not all of them singing the same tune, because I have watched Dr. Morris Guy, the spokesman on health, making some seriously beneficial contribution to the debate. So it's not everybody saying the same thing, even though
I mentioned. I didn't mention Dr. Guy or Mr. Mark Golding or the other sensible people in the People's National Party. I mentioned the Rasta because for years I've been listening to this very let me not use the word educated, this very learned young man who has been conning the people of Jamaica with a Rasta hairstyle and always talking nothing. It is all he has. His points are always just superficial points. It's never anything that is in reality that you can actually do. And that is my problem. And Senator Brown is no different.
Lambert,
an older version. Yes. It was an older version of just always politics.
Lambert is a good trade unionist. Lambert is a good trade unionist.
Yes. Well, there's a distinction there. You're right. Let me just make it clear. Mr. Brown has been forever a really good representative of the people
in the workplace.
Trade union. Yes. Unlike Mr. Crawford, who has not distinguished himself with anything.
Oh Lord.
That I can remember.
Oh Lord.
No, I am just as angry with him as I am with the pastor and with the stars that are coming out.
Well, you are on Fit FM 96.7, your life, your music, to make your point, So make your point, my brother. Make your point. You get that opportunity. And anybody else who have another view, just make the call. Yeah, and we listen to you. We'll allow you to talk.
I'll tell you this, Ed. I'm in Philadelphia, and about a week ago or so, I got my first shot of my vaccine, the Moderna. See, and I took this in Center City, Philadelphia. And I was just as mad with the black people because this is a 50% black city.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a city of 2 million and at least 1 million black people are in the city.
Mm-hmm.
And it was 1 to 20. One black person to 20 white people taking the vaccine.
Mm-hmm. What do you think might be causing that? What do you think might be causing that problem? Because now it's becoming almost political, because there's an argument on CNN and MSNBC that the vaccine is being disproportionately distributed. And now you're saying that black people now are going to take it.
It's a country. I'll tell you what we do with the United States. The United States is a country that is organized for organized people.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I got you.
All right. If a person is not organized, for instance, there are more people, white people, on social programs in the United States than any other people by far.
Okay.
And that is because the white people in this country are more organized. There's no program that they don't know about. Meanwhile, let us talk on behalf of my people. Black people just don't care. Black people don't know what is going on in terms of what are the benefits to them. No, let us put that same issue to the vaccine itself. In order to get a vaccine, you go through the systems that are there, either through your clinic or through your doctor or through your workplace or through whatsoever is there for you. The white population, within 24 hours of getting that together, they already know how to get their thing and where they're going to go. The black person have to have one person in the family that is organized, and that person convince everybody and do it for everybody. And
I see what you mean. I see what you mean.
It is probably just as frustrating as my Jamaican brothers and sisters who have decided all of a sudden vaccine is not good when all our children have vaccine.
Well,
all our children have vaccine.
And the point that you make with the 6-week clinic is a very, very valid point. And I think I'm going to drive
I would like
that.
You to get that to the government.
Yeah, I'm going to drive
Tell
that
them
point
in their
home every
education
minute I
program
get.
that's how they should put it.
Yes, I'm going to drive that point home every day.
Because the 6-week clinic is the first vaccination. And our women who have been our backbone forever don't ramp when it come on to that.
Congrats to them. But anyhow, Robert,
of course.
I'm going to give you the final word quickly because I want to see if any other caller want to give us a call just before we close off. So your final word, sir. Tell us something, anything.
Well, my final word is my Jamaican brothers and sisters, right? I, like many Jamaicans abroad, would love to come home, would love to visit, would love to come spend some money there, would love to help our country by being there when we can. All right? If you continue to be indisciplined, you are going to delay the time that it will take your country to respond to this and to recover from this. All right? Please do not let politics get in your way and do not make religion get in your way because this is not a religious thing. It is not a political thing. It is a medical thing. When you have a medical problem, you go to your doctor. You don't go to your politician or your pastor. So just deal with the thing the right way. All right?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Robert. Yeah, pleasure talking to you, my friend. And God willing, we talk again soon.
Nice speaking to you, my brother.
All right,
Blessed,
my brother.
man.
Cool. Indeed. Bye. Yeah, you're on Fit FM. Talking to our guest all the way from Philadelphia, US away. Fit FM 96.7, your life, your music. You're into the community buzz and we're winding down. I tell you. So we're going to talk about the bun and cheese a little bit later. Thank you, Robert Roach. Thank you for calling in and calling anytime, sir, because your contribution has been a very valuable one and very valid. So Yvonne says she wants our bun, which means we have to set up a system for to get our bun. What we're doing with? Did Anita tell us that she can't eat bun?
She eats that about it. Anita, she said something. Cornmeal pudding. She prefer cornmeal pudding.
Cornmeal. Oh.
Okay, let's hear.
I hear that one there.
Yes. Let me see if I can pick up what
cornmeal
what Curly
pudding.
was saying out of Atlanta.
What is
When you go and eat bun and cheese still on no belly bus, because nobody who won is in Jamaica to claim the bun and cheese. Enjoy. Julia, you can have my bun and cheese.
I was about to say thank you until she said Julia Julia can have it. I was about to say thank you. But Julia, we had a very good program this afternoon, I believe. Although those who participated on WhatsApp, in Facebook, all that kind of thing, we wanted to thank you because without you, Rachel, how could I even think of forgetting? Thank you ever so much for coming on, Rachel. And I saw you brought your cheerleader, Essence Web. So thank you all for staying with us for the last 2.5 hours or so. We're not going to be here next week live. We might play another program. And this perhaps is a good one to replay. So, God willing, we'll hear from each other 2 Mondays from now. Thank you ever so much again. You've been a lovely listenership, a lovely watchership. Yeah, man. Them a watch up on Facebook. Yeah, man. And then now I'm have to just big up my boss lady. Happy Easter all. Take good care. God bless you. We'll come back to you, God willing, in 2 weeks. So here I am, the controversial Ed Wallace. I'm on Community Buzz every Monday afternoon from 3 p.m. to 6 p.m. on Fit FM 96.7. Call me. Our number is 876-482-4944. Let us discuss topics affecting your